The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles. Its crystal walls reflected the light of 1,000 stars. Inside, representatives from hundreds of alien species gathered for their monthly meeting. Some had scales, others had fur. Some breathed oxygen, others needed methane tanks strapped to their backs. But they all shared one thing. They believed they knew everything about the galaxy. Stood in the corner, clutching his data tablet. He was a tall and thin with silver skin that shimmered under the lights. His people were known for being scholars and historians. For the past 10 years, had studied extinct civilizations. He had spent countless hours in forgotten archives, reading old records that nobody else cared about anymore. Today, he was going to present something important, something that would change everything. The council leader, a massive creature with 6 arms and crystal eyes, raised one limb for silence. The chatter in the hall died down. We will now hear from Scholar about his recent research findings. Walked to the center platform. His hands shook slightly. Around him, hundreds of eyes watched with mild interest. Most of them looked bored already. "Honored council members," began, his voice echoing through the hall. "I have discovered evidence that humans may still exist." The hall erupted in laughter. It started as a few chuckles, then grew into roaring amusement. The council leader's eyes glowed brighter, which meant he was smiling. "Humans," someone shouted, "the myth species. They destroyed themselves 12,000 cycles ago," another voice called out. "Waited for the noise to settle. That is what we have always believed. But I found old records, sealed files from the ancient archives. There are inconsistencies in the story. The timeline doesn't match. The evidence of their destruction is incomplete." A representative stood up. They were warriors, heavily armored and aggressive. "Scholar, you waste our time with fairy tales. Humans are a legend we tell our children. A cautionary tale about species that develop weapons before wisdom. Their planet Earth burned. Nothing survived. This is known fact." "But what if it isn't fact?" pressed. "What if humans survived and went into hiding?" More laughter filled the hall. The council leader waved his arms. "Your dedication to research is admirable, Scholar, but humans are extinct. This is not up for debate. Now let us move to more important matters. The trade routes through the outer rim need." Sat down, defeated. Nobody would listen. They were too comfortable with their version of history. As the council continued with their boring trade discussions, stared at his data tablet. The numbers didn't lie. Something had happened 12,000 cycles ago, but it wasn't what everyone believed. Far away, beyond the mapped regions of space, beyond the borders of council territory, something massive moved through the darkness. Admiral stood on the bridge of the UNS Indomitable. The command center was huge, filled with screens and stations where crew members worked. Everything was clean, efficient, and purpose-built for war. "Jump calculations complete, Admiral," reported the chief engineer. He was younger than but brilliant with technology. "All 37 ships are ready." Nodded slowly. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. Those eyes had seen too much war, too much death, but they also held determination that couldn't be broken. "And the council?" "Still unaware of our existence, sir," replied a female voice. Captain stepped onto the bridge. She was sharp and confident, with short black hair and a uniform that showed her rank clearly. "Our scout ships report they're having another one of their meetings, talking about trade routes and peace treaties." "Peace," said the word like it tasted bitter. "They don't know what that word cost us." 300 years ago, Earth had been a young civilization just beginning to reach for the stars. They had achieved nuclear power, developed basic spacecraft, and were so close to faster-than-light travel. Then the plague came. It appeared suddenly, spreading across every continent in weeks. 2,700,000,000 people died. The lucky ones went quickly. The others suffered for months. Earth's scientists eventually figured out the truth. The plague wasn't natural. It was engineered. It came from space, delivered by an unknown alien race. The Galactic Council, though humans didn't know their name yet, had decided that humanity was too dangerous, too aggressive, too unpredictable, so they tried to wipe them out before humans could leave their solar system. But the Council made one critical mistake. They underestimated human survival instinct. The survivors went underground, literally. They built massive cities beneath Earth's surface. They salvaged what they could from the surface world, and in the wreckage left by the aliens who attacked them, they found technology. Alien technology. They studied it, learned from it, and eventually improved upon it. 300 years of hiding. 300 years of building. 300 years of preparing for the day they would return to space and find those responsible. "Sir," said, pulling from his thoughts, "the crews are asking when we begin the final jump." Looked at the main screen. It showed a map of known space. The Galactic Council territory glowed in blue. Earth, out in the darkness, was a single red dot. Between them lay thousands of light years. "Have all ships achieved full power?" "Yes, sir." "All weapon systems operational?" "Yes, sir." "All crew members at their stations?" "Every single one, sir." Took a deep breath. This was it. 3 centuries of preparation came down to this moment. Once they jumped, there was no going back. The galaxy would know that humans existed, that they survived, that they remembered. "Send the order," commanded. "All ships jump in 30 seconds. Target coordinates Council space border. Formation Delta 7. Throughout the human fleet, crews prepared. Engines that could tear holes in reality itself began to charge. Weapons systems came online, just in case. Every person aboard those 37 warships knew what they were doing. They were announcing humanity's return to the galaxy. And they were ready for whatever came next. Felt the ship vibrate as the jump drive reached full power. She gripped the railing in front of her, watching the countdown timer on the screen. 10 seconds. 9. 8. In the council hall, gathered his notes, disappointed but not surprised. He would continue his research. Someone had to care about the truth. 765. The council leader was discussing grain shipments. So boring, so peaceful, so blind to what was coming. 432. Straightened his uniform. "For Earth," he whispered. 1. Space itself ripped open. 37 massive human warships emerged from quantum at the edge of Council territory. They were huge, covered in armor and weapons, bearing the blue and white insignia of the United Nations Space Command. On thousands of worlds, alarms began to sound. Sensors across the galaxy detected the massive energy signatures. Communication channels exploded with panicked messages. The humans, extinct for 12,000 cycles, had just announced they were very much alive. And they had brought warships. The emergency sirens screamed through the council hall. Every representative jumped to their feet, shouting questions, demanding answers. The crystal walls that had shown peaceful starlight now displayed red warning symbols. Holographic screens appeared everywhere, showing the same terrifying image: 37 unknown warships sitting at the border of Council space. The Council leader's 6 arms flailed. "Silence, I demand silence," his voice boomed through the chaos. Slowly, the noise died down. "What are we looking at?" A military advisor rushed to the platform. "Unknown vessels, my lord. They appeared through quantum 7 minutes ago. The energy signatures are. They're incredible. Each ship is the size of a dreadnought." "Who are they?" the representative demanded. "What species dares enter our space without permission?" "We don't know, sir. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, but the message is repeating in languages, and we're still translating." Felt his heart race. Could it be? No, it was impossible, but he pushed through the crowd anyway, running toward the communication station. "Let me hear it." The technician looked at him strangely but played the audio. A clear, calm voice spoke. It was female, confident, and spoke in perfect galactic standard, the common language everyone understood. This is Captain of the United Nations Space Command Vessel Defiance. We come in peace, but we come prepared. We request immediate dialogue with the Galactic Council leadership. We have waited long enough. We have much to discuss. United Nations. Hands trembled. Play it again. What did she say her species was? The message repeated. This time it included translations in 53 different languages. At the end there was one more line. We are human. We survived. We remember everything. The hall exploded again, but this time the sound was pure panic. Species that had never shown fear before were heading for the exits. The representative's armor plates rattled as he shook. Impossible. Humans are extinct. This is a trick. It's no trick, shouted over the noise. I tried to tell you, the evidence was there all along. On the bridge of the Defiance, watched the council space through her. Next to her stood Sara, a diplomatic specialist who had trained her entire life for this moment. Sara was petite and wore formal diplomatic robes instead of a military uniform. She had kind eyes, but they held steel behind them. They're panicking, Sara observed, watching the sensor readings that showed ships fleeing from council headquarters. Just as we predicted. Will they talk or will they fight? Asked. They'll talk, they have to. They know we could have jumped directly to their capital and started shooting. Instead, we're waiting at the border. That shows restraint. Smiled grimly. Restraint after what they did to Earth. We need answers more than revenge, Sara reminded her. That's why I'm here. In another part of the fleet, Pilot sat in his fighter cockpit. His spacecraft was small compared to the massive warships, but it was fast and deadly. Around him, 30 other fighters waited in their launch bays, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Raptor Squadron, this is Raptor Leader, spoke into his comm. Stay sharp. If this goes bad, we'll be the first line of defense. Copy that, Leader, voices responded. We're ready. Hoped they wouldn't be needed. But 300 years of preparation had taught humanity one lesson: always be ready for the worst. Back in the council hall, order was slowly being restored. The council leader had activated emergency protocols. Military forces across council space were being mobilized, but he also knew they needed information. Scholar, the leader's voice cut through the remaining noise. You seem to know something about these humans. Speak. Stepped forward, his mind racing. Humans were never extinct, my lord. They were attacked. 12,000 cycles ago, someone tried to kill them all. I found records, sealed records, about something called Operation Silent World. It was a plan to eliminate humanity before they developed faster-than-light travel. That's a lie, someone shouted. Is it? Pulled out his data tablet, throwing the information onto the main screens. Ancient documents appeared, showing plans, biological weapon designs, target analysis. All of it bore official council seals from 12,000 cycles ago. The council's ancestors decided humans were too dangerous, too warlike, so they sent a plague to kill them before they could leave their planet. The hall fell silent. Hundreds of eyes stared at the evidence. Nobody wanted to believe it, but the documents were real. The seals couldn't be forged. But it failed, continued. 2 billion humans died, yes, but 5 billion survived. They went underground. They took the alien technology left behind by the attack and learned from it. They studied it, and they've been building for 300 years. 300 years, the representative said slowly, in human time. Yes, they age faster than most species. 300 years is 12 human generations. 12 generations of children raised on the story of how the galaxy tried to kill them all. A new voice came through the communication system. It was male, older, carrying weight and authority. This is Admiral of the 3rd Earth Fleet. I will speak with your leadership. You have 1 hour to decide if you will meet us peacefully or if we will take the meeting by force. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. The council leader's eyes dimmed with worry. We need to buy time. Military, how long until our fleets can reach the border? 72 hours, my lord, the military advisor replied. But sir, those ships, our sensors show weapons we've never seen before. Their energy output is beyond anything in our database. Because they built it from our own technology, said quietly. They took what we used to attack them and made it better. The council leader turned to his advisors. They whispered urgently among themselves. Finally, he spoke. Send a response. Tell them we will send a diplomatic team, but also activate the armada. If these humans show any aggression, we respond with overwhelming force. Sora received the council's message on the Defiance. She read it carefully, then looked at. They're agreeing to talk, but they're also mobilizing their military. The Empire is preparing for war. Expected, replied. They'll try to negotiate while preparing to fight. It's what we would do. The question is, do we trust them enough to let their diplomats aboard? No, we meet in neutral space. They bring 3 ships, we bring 3 ships. If anyone tries anything, we all die together. Sora nodded. I'll send the terms. As the response went back to the council, continued to dig through the archives. The more he found, the worse it became. Operation Silent World wasn't the only crime. Over the past 20,000 cycles, the council had eliminated at least 12 other species that they deemed too dangerous. All of it had been covered up, hidden in sealed archives that nobody ever checked. What have we done? Whispered to himself. What kind of government have we been serving? In space, the human fleet maintained perfect formation. They didn't advance. They didn't retreat. They simply waited, 37 massive warships carrying the anger and determination of an entire species that refused to die. Inside the Indomitable, Admiral looked at a photograph on his desk. It showed Earth before the plague, green and blue and beautiful. He had never seen it that way in person. He was born underground in the bunkers, but his grandparents told him stories. They remembered the sky. They'll pay, said softly. One way or another, they'll pay for what they did. An officer approached. Admiral, the council has accepted our terms for a meeting. Good, tell Captain Sora to prepare. She's about to make history. Throughout the galaxy, news spread at the speed of light. Humans were real. Humans were alive. And humans had come back with a fleet that terrified the greatest military powers in known space. Some species celebrated, hopping for new allies. Others trembled, fearing the return of a species that had every reason to want revenge. The meeting was set for 36 hours from now. Neutral space. 3 ships each side. Diplomats would talk while warriors watched and weapons waited. The neutral zone was a point in empty space, far from any planet or star. 2 sets of ships faced each other across a distance of 10,000 kilometers. On one side, 3 council vessels gleamed white and gold. On the other, 3 human warships waited in matte gray armor. Inside the council flagship, representatives argued. The commander, a massive warrior named, slammed his fist on the table. We should attack now while we still can. Every moment we wait, they learn more about us. Violence is not the answer, a small, furry delegate squeaked. Her people, the Trill, believed in peaceful resolution. We must understand what they want. Sat quietly in the corner. The council leader had brought him as an advisor since he knew the most about humans. They want answers, he said. They want to know why we tried to kill them. We turned to him. I had nothing to do with ancient history. None of us did. Why should we pay for what our ancestors did 12,000 cycles ago? Because you still benefit from it, replied calmly. Your species, grew powerful because there was no competition. Humans would have matched you militarily. Without them, you became the Council's army. You owe your position to their attempted extinction. His eyes blazed, but he said nothing. The truth hurt. On the human side, Sora prepared for the meeting. She wore formal diplomatic robes in blue and white. the colors of Earth. With her were two guards and an intelligence officer who had spent years studying council communications. Was sharp and suspicious of everyone. She had brought data pads filled with evidence. "Remember," she told Sora, "they'll try to deny everything. They'll claim the documents are fake or taken out of context. Don't let them." "I won't," Sora promised. 300 years of suffering demands the truth. The meeting took place on a small neutral station built specifically for this purpose. It was ancient, left over from old wars, now hastily reactivated. The conference room was simple, one long table, chairs on both sides, and nothing else. Sora entered first. She walked with confidence, head high, showing no fear. Behind her came and the guards. Across the table, the council delegation waited. The council leader sat in the center, his 6 arms folded, stood behind him, glaring, sat to the side, looking nervous but determined. "Captain Sora," the council leader began, "we welcome you in the spirit of peace." "Do you?" Sora sat down without being invited. "Because your fleets are mobilizing for war even as we speak. 500 warships are gathering near your capital. That doesn't look peaceful to me." "A precaution," growled. "You appear with warships of your own." "We appear with survivors," Sora corrected. "Survivors of a genocide attempt that your council ordered." She nodded to who activated a holographic projector. Documents filled the air between them. Official council seals, biological weapon specifications, target analysis of Earth's population centers, projected casualty numbers. "Operation Silent World," stated coldly. "Authorized 12,000 cycles ago by the council of that time. Goal, complete elimination of humanity before they could achieve faster-than-light travel. Method, engineered plague delivered via automated probes. Success rate, partial, 2.7 billion killed, 5 billion survivors." The council leader's eyes dimmed. "These documents, they are ancient, their authenticity is confirmed by your own archive systems," interrupted. "Scholar found them. Would you like to claim your own historian is lying?" Shook his head. "I found them, they're real, I them 3 times." Sora leaned forward. "Why did you do it? What threat did we pose? We hadn't even left our solar system. We had no weapons that could reach you. We didn't even know you existed." The council leader was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "Fear. The council of that time feared what humanity might become. Your species showed remarkable intelligence and adaptation. You went from primitive tools to nuclear weapons in mere thousands of cycles. The projection was that you would develop faster-than-light travel within another 1,000 cycles. And your nature," he paused, "your history was violent, constant wars among yourselves. The council decided it was better to prevent a threat than face one later." "So you tried to murder us all based on fear," Sora said flatly. "Fear of what we might do, not what we had done." "Yes." The simple admission hung in the air, shifted uncomfortably. The Trill delegate looked down at her hands. Even who knew the truth felt the weight of that word. "And we weren't the only ones," added. She pulled up more documents. 12 other species over 20,000 cycles, all eliminated because the council feared them. The kindred, should I continue? Stood up suddenly. 12 others. I only found evidence of 3. "We intercepted deeper archives," explained. "Your security isn't as good as you think. Humanity has been watching you for decades, preparing for this moment. We know everything." The council leader's composure cracked. "What do you want? Revenge? To destroy us as we tried to destroy you?" Sora was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was measured. "We want recognition. Official recognition that humanity exists, that Earth is our sovereign world, and that we have the right to exist without fear. We want the truth revealed to every species in the council, and we want a voice in your government." "You want to join the council?" the Trill delegate asked in surprise. "No," Sora smiled coldly. "We want to remake it. The current council is built on lies and genocide. That ends now. Either you reform willingly or we help you reform." "That sounds like a threat," said. "It's a promise," Sora replied. "We didn't cross the galaxy to be ignored again." Back on the Indomitable, Admiral watched the diplomatic meeting through a secure channel. Beside him stood Minu, a tactical officer who had been studying Council military formations for years. "They're stalling," Minu said, pointing to a screen. "The fleet is moving faster than expected. They'll be in position in 48 hours, not 72. "They want to negotiate until they're ready to fight," observed. "Classic tactic." "Do we let them?" Considered. "Sora knows what she's doing, but prepare the fleet. If those ships jump into this sector, I want every weapon ready to fire." "Sir, we're outnumbered 14-1, 37 ships against 500. "Then we'll make every shot count." Eyes were hard. The think numbers matter most. They're about to learn that human technology counts more. In the conference room, tensions rose higher. The council leader tried to buy time, offering small concessions. "We can recognize Earth as a protected world. We can offer trade agreements." "We don't want trade," Sora interrupted. "We want justice." "Justice?" laughed bitterly. "Everyone responsible has been dead for thousands of cycles. You can't punish ghosts." "No, but we can punish the system that created them," said. "The council structure hasn't changed. The same fears, the same policies exist today. If another species appeared tomorrow that you thought was dangerous, you'd do it again." The accusation hung heavy, because everyone knew it was true. Finally spoke up. "She's right. I've been studying council policies for years. We maintain 12 different contingency plans for emerging threats. That's what we call them, species that might become powerful enough to challenge council authority. The plans include everything from economic isolation to military intervention to," he paused, "to biological warfare." The council leader turned on him. "Scholar, you violate your oath by revealing classified information." "My oath was to serve the truth," shot back, "not to protect genocidal policies." The meeting devolved into shouting. Accusations flew back and forth. The guards on both sides tensed, hands moving toward weapons. Sora and remained calm, but their eyes never stopped watching, evaluating, preparing. Finally, Sora stood. "We're done here. You've had your chance to do this peacefully. We'll give you 72 hours to make a decision. Either you begin immediate reforms, share all classified files about past operations, and grant humanity full council membership with voting rights, or we take it by force." "You dare threaten the entire council," roared. Sora met his eyes without flinching. "We survived your plague. We survived 300 years underground. We survived when you thought we were extinct. Do you really think we're scared of your threats?" She turned and walked out, and the guards following. The council delegation sat in stunned silence. As the human ships prepared to leave the neutral zone, alarms suddenly blared. Warships were jumping into nearby sectors, surrounding the area. Not 3 ships or 10 ships, hundreds of them. On the Defiance watched the sensors light up like a festival. "They're making their move. All ships battle stations. This is not a drill." The 72-hour deadline had just become meaningless. The Empire had decided that talking was over. It was time for war. Space distorted as 500 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel. They appeared in perfect military formation, surrounding the small neutral zone where humanity's 37 ships waited. Each vessel was massive, covered in heavy armor and bristling with weapons. They had fought and won 1,000 battles. They had never lost a war. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the enemy ships appear on his screens. Officers around him worked quickly but calmly. They had trained for this. 300 years of preparation came down to the next few hours. "All human ships reporting ready, sir," Minu announced from his tactical station. "Weapons charged, shields at maximum, fighters ready to launch. Good, his voice was steady. He looked at the overwhelming numbers on his screen and felt no fear. Fear was for people who had something to lose. Humanity had already lost everything once. Open a channel to the fleet. A moment later, his voice reached every human ship. This is Admiral, you all know why we're here. Our ancestors died because the galaxy feared what we might become. Today, we show them they were right to be afraid. Not because we're monsters, but because we refuse to die. No matter the odds, no matter the cost, we are human. That means we don't surrender. All ships hold formation. Let them make the first move. In the fighter bay of the Defiance climbed into his cockpit. Around him, 30 other pilots did the same. Their fighters were small and sleek, built for speed and maneuverability. Each one carried weapons that could punch holes in capital ships. Raptor Squadron, this is Control, his voice came through the comm. Stay in the bay until ordered. If this goes bad, you're our strike force. Copy that, Control replied. His hands moved over the controls automatically, running through pre-flight checks. Everything green, everything ready. He looked at the picture taped to his console, a drawing his daughter made before he left Earth. He would see her again. He had to. The commander's face appeared on every human ship's main screen. He was enormous, even with scars covering his armor plates. His name was, and he had never lost a battle in his 60 years of service. Human vessels, his voice boomed. You are surrounded. Your situation is hopeless. Surrender now and the Council may show mercy. Refuse and you will be destroyed. Smiled slightly. He activated his own transmission, sending his image to every ship. Commander, I'm Admiral of Earth. Let me explain something about humans that your council didn't tell you. We don't do hopeless well. In our history, we've had battles where we were outnumbered and everyone said we couldn't win. We won anyway. It's kind of our specialty. Bravery without wisdom is just stupidity, replied. You have 37 ships, I have 500. The mathematics are simple. Math is only simple when you understand all the variables, said. You're about to learn some new math. His eyes narrowed. You have 1 minute to begin surrender procedures. After that, we open fire. The transmission ended. On the Indomitable turned to menu. Target the lead dreadnoughts. 4 ships per target. Wait for them to shoot first. I want it clear who started this fight. Across the human fleet, weapons systems came online. That could fire projectiles at a fraction of light speed. Energy weapons that could burn through shields. Missiles guided by quantum computers. And one special weapon that nobody had seen before, built into the Indomitable itself. The countdown began. 60 seconds, 50, 40. On the Defiance, Sora had returned and stood beside on the bridge. They're really going to do it, Sora said quietly. 500 against 37. They think we're desperate, replied. They think we'll break and run. They don't understand that humans stopped running a long time ago. 30 seconds, 20, 10. His voice came back. Your time is up, humans. You chose death. The fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human ships. It was a devastating barrage, enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Shields, Minu shouted. The human ships activated their defensive systems. Blue energy barriers appeared around each vessel. The weapons hit them and stopped. The shields held easily, absorbing the energy and distributing it harmlessly. On the flagship stared in disbelief. Impossible, increase power, all ships maximum firepower. The second barrage was twice as strong. The space between the fleets lit up with weapons fire. This time, a few human shields flickered but none failed. Their turn, said calmly. All ships return fire, show them what real weapons look like. The human fleet responded. 37 ships fired as one. The difference was immediate and devastating. Human-fired solid metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. They passed through shields like they weren't there, punching massive holes through armor. Energy beams, powered by fusion reactors far more advanced than anything they had, burned through multiple ships at once. In the first 10 seconds, 20 ships exploded. In the next 10 seconds, 30 more were disabled, drifting without power. Evasive maneuvers screamed, "All ships scatter." But the human targeting systems tracked every movement. Minu's fingers danced across his controls, coordinating the fleet's fire. Target the command ships, take out their leadership. More vessels died. The perfect military formation broke apart as ships tried to escape the killing field. Some turned to run. Others charged forward, hopping to get close enough where their numbers might matter. Launch fighters ordered. Felt his fighter accelerate out of the launch bay. Around him, his squadron formed up. Raptor Squadron, target those dreadnoughts trying to flank. Don't let them get behind our capital ships. The small human fighters moved like nothing they had ever seen. They were impossibly fast and agile. Hands moved across his controls as naturally as breathing. He lined up a dreadnought and fired. His fighters' weapons, small as they were, burned through the big ship's engines. It began to drift, powerless. Raptor 3 to leader, I've got 6 bogies on my tail. I see them 3. Break left, I'm coming around. Spun his fighter in a maneuver that would have killed a pilot from any other species. The G-forces were brutal, but his pressure suit compensated. He came up behind the pursuing fighters and fired. 4 of them exploded before they even knew he was there. Back on the Indomitable, monitored the special weapon. Admiral, the main cannon is charged and ready. Target their flagship, ordered. The Indomitable's bow split open, revealing a massive built into the ship's entire length. It was experimental, dangerous, and consumed enough power to run a small city. But when it fired, the projectile it launched was the size of a building and moved at 5% the speed of light. The slug crossed the distance between ships in seconds. It hits flagship dead center. The ship's shields tried to stop it. They failed. The armor tried to absorb it. It failed. The projectile went completely through the massive dreadnought from bow to stern, and the ship simply came apart, breaking into pieces from the catastrophic structural failure. Died instantly, along with his entire command crew. The fleet, already reeling, broke completely. Ships began jumping away, fleeing to safety. Those that couldn't jump fast enough tried to surrender. Cease fire, ordered. Accept their surrenders. We're not here to commit genocide like they tried to do to us. The battle was over in 30 minutes. Of 500 ships, 200 were destroyed, 150 were disabled, and the rest had fled. Not a single human ship was destroyed. 17 had shield damage. 5 had minor hull breaches. 0 casualties. Minu stared at his screens in amazement. Sir, we just defeated the largest fleet ever assembled, with no losses. Send a message to the Council, said. Tell them the Empire just learned what happens when you underestimate humans. Tell them we're done talking from a position of weakness. Tell them they have 48 hours to begin reforms, or we jump to their capital and have this conversation with them directly. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, people watched in shock. The news spread like wildfire. The Council's unstoppable military force had been crushed. The humans, extinct for 12,000 cycles, had returned with weapons and technology beyond anything known. On the council leader sat in darkness, processing what had happened. His advisors were silent, too shocked to speak. Stepped forward. My lord, they gave us 48 hours. I suggest we use that time wisely. Humanity has proven they can destroy us. Now let's see if we're smart enough to make peace. The council leader's eyes glowed dimly. Summon the full council, all species, emergency session. It seems we need to discuss the future, a future that includes humans whether we like it or not. In space, the human fleet maintained their position, surrounded by the wreckage of ships. Inside each vessel, crews celebrated. 300 years of preparation had paid off. They had fought the galaxy's strongest military and won. But didn't celebrate. He looked at the casualty reports from the side. Thousands dead. He had ordered it and he would carry that weight. But he also knew it was necessary. Sometimes peace could only come through strength. 48 hours, he said to himself. 48 hours to change the galaxy. The council chamber had never been so full. Every species, every representative, every delegate crowded into the massive hall. The crystal walls no longer showed peaceful starlight. Instead, they displayed footage of the battle playing over and over. 500 ships destroyed in 30 minutes. The message was clear. Everything had changed. The council leader stood at the center platform, his 6 arms hanging limply. He looked older than his many cycles. Beside him stood, no longer just a scholar but now an advisor that people actually listened to. Around the chamber, species whispered nervously among themselves. At the entrance, the massive doors opened. Sara walked in, flanked by 2 human guards. She wore formal diplomatic robes, but everyone could see the strength in her walk. Behind her came, carrying data pads filled with evidence. They walked to the center of the chamber and the whispers stopped. "Members of the Galactic Council," Sara began, her voice clear and strong. 48 hours ago you had a choice. You could acknowledge the crimes of the past and work toward a better future, or you could try to silence us like you did 12,000 cycles ago. You chose violence. Chose violence. And now 500 ships are debris floating in space. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some species looked ashamed, others looked afraid, a few looked angry. "We didn't want that battle," Sara continued. "But we've learned that sometimes peace requires strength. You need to see that we can't be bullied or eliminated. We're here to stay. The question is, what kind of galaxy do we build together?" The council leader spoke, his voice heavy. "What do you demand, Captain Sara?" "First, full recognition of humanity and Earth as a sovereign species, and second, complete disclosure of all council operations for the past 20,000 cycles. Every species targeted, every crime committed, everything brought into the light. Third, reformation of the council structure. No more secret committees making life and death decisions. No more contingency plans for wiping out species you fear. And fourth, humanity gets a permanent seat with full voting rights." "You ask us to tear down everything we've built," a delegate protested. "No," stepped forward. "We're asking you to tear down the lies and build something real, something honest. You've ruled the galaxy based on fear and control. That ends today." She activated her data pads and holographic displays filled the chamber. Documents appeared everywhere, thousands of them. Operation Silent World was just the beginning. The council had manipulated species, started wars, engineered famines, and eliminated threats for 20,000 cycles. All of it documented, all of it undeniable. 12 species completely destroyed. His voice cut through the shocked silence. 47 species kept purposely primitive through economic and technological suppression. 19 civil wars started by council agents to keep species divided. This is your legacy. Watch the reactions around the chamber. Some representatives looked shocked, truly learning this for the first time. Others looked down, guilty because they had known or suspected. The Trill delegate was crying openly. "This can't all be true," someone shouted. "The council protects the galaxy." "From what?" Sora asked sharply. "From species that might challenge your power, from ideas you don't like. You've created peace by eliminating anyone who might disturb it. That's not peace. That's tyranny." The council leader raised his arms for silence. "And if we refuse your demands, will you destroy us like you destroyed the fleet?" Sara was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer but no less firm. "No, we'll do something worse. We'll tell every species in the galaxy what you've done. We'll share these documents on every communication channel. We'll let the galaxy decide if you deserve to lead. And then we'll offer an alternative. A new coalition built on transparency and equality. You can join it or stand alone. You would fracture the galaxy, the council leader protested. There would be chaos, war, suffering. There's already suffering, replied. You've just been hiding it. And as for war, the species most likely to start one just lost 500 ships. They won't be starting anything for a long time. As if summoned by her words, a figure entered the chamber. It was a warrior, but not one of their usual aggressive commanders. This one walked slowly, carefully, wearing diplomatic colors instead of military armor. My name is, the said, his voice subdued. I speak for what remains of our fleet. The Empire has withdrawn from Council military service. We have spent 60 cycles being your weapon. We fought your wars, enforced your rules, and died for your agenda. The humans showed us something in 30 minutes that we never understood in 60 cycles. We've been slaves calling ourselves soldiers. The chamber erupted in shock. The leaving the Council military was unthinkable. They were the backbone of Council power. Our people are tired of fighting, continued, tired of being feared and hated. The humans defeated us, yes, but then they accepted our surrender. They could have killed us all, but they didn't. They showed mercy we never showed others. If there is to be a new coalition, as Captain Sora describes, they would like to be part of it. Sora nodded respectfully too. She hadn't expected this, but it was a powerful moment. The galaxy's warriors were joining humanity's cause. Over the next hours, the chamber became a forum for truth. Species after species came forward, sharing their own experiences with council manipulation. The trills spoke of economic controls that kept them dependent. They described how council advisors had sabotaged their scientific development. On and on it went, a cascade of revelations. The council leader stood in the center of it all, his authority crumbling. Finally, he spoke. Very well. The council as it exists will dissolve. We will form a new governing body with new rules. Transparency, equality, and representation for all, including humanity. 6 months passed. The old council hall was torn down and rebuilt into something new. The walls were transparent now, letting everyone see the stars. No more crystal barriers keeping people separate from the universe. The new Galactic Coalition held its first official meeting. Representatives from every species sat in a great circle, no one higher than anyone else. At one point in the circle sat Sora, now humanity's official ambassador. Next to her sat Admiral, representing Earth's military interests. Across from them sat for the, and hundreds of others. This coalition is built on 3 principles, Sora announced. Truth, cooperation, and mutual defense. We share information freely. We work together for common goals. And we protect each other from threats, internal or external. What about species that refuse to join? Someone asked. They're free to refuse, replied. We won't force anyone, but those who join get access to human defensive technology. We'll share what we've learned, help upgrade everyone's capabilities. Together, we'll be stronger than the old council ever was. On Earth, in the rebuilt cities on the surface, people celebrated. For 300 years, they had lived underground, hidden and afraid. Now, their children would grow up under real sky, in a galaxy that knew and respected them. Returned home to his family, his daughter ran to hug him and he held her tight. Did you beat the bad aliens, Daddy? We didn't beat them, sweetie, said gently. We taught them how to be better, that's more important. At Earth's first interstellar university, taught history to students from 20 different species. His classroom looked out over the blue planet, green and alive again. The lesson of humanity, he told his students, is not that they survived extinction. It's that they survived and still chose peace when they could have chosen revenge. That takes a kind of strength that weapons can't create. Promoted to Fleet Admiral, oversaw the construction of a combined defense force. Human ships worked alongside vessels, cruisers, and ships from dozens of other species. They trained together, learned from each other, and became something new. not a conquering force but a protective one. Led the Historical Truth Commission, traveling to worlds across the galaxy. She found sealed archives, hidden documents, and buried secrets. Every crime was brought to light, every victim remembered. It was painful work but necessary. "We can't build a better future on lies," she said in her reports. "The truth, no matter how ugly, is the foundation of trust." Worked with coalition engineers, sharing human technology and learning from alien innovations. Together, they developed new engines, better shields, and more efficient power systems. Technology that had taken humans 300 years to develop was shared freely, advancing the entire galaxy. The Empire, no longer the Council's weapon, began to change, became their new leader, chosen not for military success but for diplomatic skill. Young no longer trained only for war. They became artists, scientists, explorers. One young came to Earth to study music. Another became a doctor. The transformation was slow but real. Not everything was perfect. Some species refused to join the coalition, preferring isolation. A few tried to start their own empires, seeing opportunity in the chaos of change. But each time, the coalition responded together, not with overwhelming force but with firm resolve. Aggressors learned quickly that the galaxy was no longer divided. 10 years after humanity's return, the coalition was stronger than the old council had ever been. More species, more cooperation, more innovation. And at the heart of it all stood humanity, no longer a myth or a cautionary tale, but a real presence that reminded everyone what survival and forgiveness looked like. Admiral, now older and ready to retire, stood on the observation deck of the Indomitable. It was being decommissioned, turned into a museum. Children from a dozen species would come to see where the battle of the neutral zone had been commanded. Sara joined him, looking out at Earth below. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked, coming back forcing change. "Thought about it. We did what we had to do. The galaxy needed to change. They needed to face their crimes. But more than that, they needed to see that even after everything they did to us, we still believed in a better future." 300 years, Sara mused. 300 years of hiding and building, all for this. "No," corrected gently, "all for them." He pointed down at Earth, where cities gleamed in the sunlight, where children played under real sky, where humanity lived free and proud. "We didn't do this for revenge or power. We did it so they could have a galaxy worth living in." And as the sun set on Earth, painting the sky in colors that humans had almost forgotten, the message was clear. Humanity was never just a myth. They were a promise. A promise that even in the darkest times, even after the worst betrayals, hope could survive. And that promise had just changed everything.